Hello everybody, welcome to Little Rusty Bucket. Subscribe to the channel and drop a like on this video. So, the Phoenix Suns are reportedly not too interested in trading Devin Booker in this offseason, which I think is rather stupid for a variety of reasons, and hopefully I managed to tackle all of them throughout this video. I don't know, lately, sometimes my confidence and my off-the-dome ability slips back and forth. Right now, not feeling great about it, but we're gonna talk about Devin Booker and the Suns because the Phoenix Suns have been my white whale for the past couple of years, except it's not much of a white whale. It's like a white cricket. Very beatable, very easy to be correct about them. In fact, I don't know if there is a franchise that I have had a more successful correct about hit rate than I have with the Phoenix Suns. Pretty much Kevin Durant trade onward. Literally, like, a couple of months after the trade was even made, I was like, I think they're going to regret the Kevin Durant trade and it will end up biting them in the ass. And that's exactly what has happened. But then they doubled down and made it significantly worse by then trading for a player of near equal salary to Durant and Devin Booker, despite the fact that he's not even half as good of a player as those two players. And of course, I'm talking about Bradley Beal. And the irony of Bradley Beal being on this team is that it's kind of essentially just foreshadowing for what Devin Booker's career is going to look like from this point going forward. Because I'll tell you what, I think a Kevin Durant trade could net you something good enough to build a respectable team because Devin Booker is a very good player. But the best case scenario, best possible outcome for you here is that you're like a play-in team. In the Western Conference, you think you're going to be a good team with Devin Booker and whatever you get from a Kevin Durant trade. Well, I'm sorry to say that is very far from the case. So they can offer him a $150 million extension, and that's just for 2 years. So that would have him being paid until 2030, and from the 2025-2026 season through the 2029-2030 season, Devin Booker will be making $321 million. A lot of cheddar for Devin Booker, who, while I think Devin is very good, he isn't a top 8 player in the NBA. He can sometimes flirt with that top 10 category. I think he's better than Kevin Durant personally, and I've kind of felt that the whole time that duo has existed. He is not anywhere near my first choice for a guy to build a team around. In the most ideal world, he ends up being just a remarkable second option, but that's obviously not going to happen in this case. Otherwise, I think Devin Booker makes for a guy who can be your first option to get you to a first-round exit where you win maybe 1 game. Maybe 2 or 3 if you have a really competent team around him, but the odds that they can manage to do that are rather low. And what makes this worse is that your Kevin Durant trade is also going to be one that is centered on win now moves rather than what your future looks like. I'm sure there can be some degree of both in there, which I've always said that playing both sides of the now and the future youth movement is a very bad idea. But they could theoretically trade for like 3 good role players plus 3 first-round picks. That might be a bit steep for Kevin Durant at this stage in his career, at his age, with his salary level. But hey, maybe you could pull something like that off. But even still, wouldn't you be incentivized to trade those picks again as you have to this point to further bolster this roster? Or are you accepting your mediocrity and then just hoping, praying that with those picks you get out of the Kevin Durant trade, you can turn the franchise around by drafting someone special, even though those picks probably will not be particularly high in the lottery, especially in the short term? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Really, the only reason that you hold on to Devin Booker in this instance is that you're just fully confident that there is no way to turn this team into a remotely good, respectable, and worth seeing in person team until 2030. So you are essentially, and a lot of this because of their lack of their own draft picks, but you are essentially saying we have committed to being mid for a very long period of time. That is what re-signing Devin Booker after trading Kevin Durant would look like. I'm very staunchly anti half measures. Shout out my boy Mike from Breaking Bad. No half measures. Not trading Devin Booker is a half measure. Trying to retool this roster is a half measure. This is unsalvageable. The closest thing you can get to salvaging it is turning this team into a bad playoff team, which means technically still a playoff team, but getting your ass kicked in the first round. So this is annoying for the future of the Suns because trading Devin Booker, you're going to get more for him than you are for Kevin Durant. But if you keep him and trade Kevin Durant, then you're also going to be trading Kevin Durant for more win now pieces. But if you trade both of them, you can focus entirely on your future. You can focus entirely on getting prospects on the roster, and you can focus entirely on getting draft picks. You can also, if you play your cards right, trade back for some of your own first-round picks. In fact, I believe that's what the Brooklyn Nets did with the Kevin Durant trade. I know that happened in a trade recently where a team traded for their own first back, and that was like the main staple of the trade. I can't remember specifically who it was, but I think I'm right about that. Either way, you could trade for your own first or two. You know, these guys are good enough that you can make that happen, whether it's directly with the team that has that pick or by moving some other stuff around, getting a third team involved, etc. Like, there's ways to do it. I think they're just so sure that they're not going to dig themselves out of the hole they're in anytime soon that they'd rather just not sink further into that hole. And I guess this is the best way to do that. I hate it for that franchise. I hate it for them. I hate it for Devin Booker because, like I said, Bradley Beal-esque. I don't want him to be the guy who spends most of his career, or at least a large portion of it, on a team that had no fucking shot, because after their first year championship finals run, their year after that finals run, from the year following that onward, this Phoenix Suns team has been a joke. There's teams that thought, there's people who thought they were legit. There's people who picked them to beat the Timberwolves, which still baffles me. I didn't even realize at the time how many people thought the Timberwolves were going to lose that series, and it wasn't even about a belief in the Timberwolves so much as like one team's an NBA team and the other team is Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, and that philosophy of we have the superstars, you don't, doesn't fucking work in 2024. It didn't work before they traded for Kevin Durant. This has been the direction the NBA has gone in for a long while now, and they just took a very old school mentality to building this roster, and it got them here. But I hate this for Devin Booker because I want Devin Booker to be on a competitive team, and I hate this for the teams that could potentially trade for him. All parties involved. Whatever team would trade for Booker, Devin Booker himself, and the Phoenix Suns are all coming out short because of not trading Devin Booker. I think it is the obvious choice to trade Devin Booker. I think it's ridiculous to really think of anything else because you're not salvaging this roster. I cannot highlight enough the degree of destitute this roster is in terms of assets. There are a few good role players on this team, like Royce O'Neal, who you can trade and get something for. And then you have Ryan Dunn, who's a young player who looks completely incapable of hitting a jump shot, but at the very least, he's a great defender, and he's not terrible at scoring inside the arc, at least at the rim. But that's basically it as far as young prospects go as well. There's nothing here. There's nothing here to build on, and the only way you're going to acquire building blocks is by trading Devin. And obviously, we can get to the real meat and potatoes of why I'm upset with this. I want Devin Booker on the fucking Detroit Pistons so bad. I want to see him and Cade Cunningham play together so bad. And I also specifically want the Eastern Conference to be the beneficiary of a star player being traded for once, because there's a good chance Giannis is going out west and the balance of the conference is already bad enough. That's only going to make it worse. But no, yet again, another top 10 NBA player, top 15, 20 NBA player is going to be in the Western Conference. And they're not going to be able to shine because being the, 15th best player in the NBA doesn't do jack shit for you when you're in a conference that features 9 of the top 15 players in the NBA. It's kind of ridiculous. Fuck the Phoenix Suns. Fuck Matt Ishbia. Oh, I need to get more hands-on. That's the problem. That was the problem, Matt. You didn't have enough influence. That was the problem. Unfucking believable. What a joke of a franchise. I feel sorry for Devin, but I also would not blame him at all for taking the money. I just hope he doesn't take the same approach that Bradley Beal did, which is acting like a whiny little brat after you've taken that money, like you didn't know what you were signing up for. I hope Devin Booker knows that he is signing up for the next couple years of his NBA career basically just being him putting up empty stats. That is the only way that this is going to work. That's the only way it's going to happen. Damn shame.